I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. On the program, should COVID-19 restrictions be removed for people entering Canada?
I don't think they should be removed for anyone. I think we need more.
I'm okay with it.
I think the borders should open up.
I don't think it should be removed as of yet.
For those fed up with COVID-19 restrictions while traveling, things are about to get a lot easier for people to come and go as they please. The federal government announced it will be lifting COVID-19 restrictions, which include mask mandates on planes and trains and the mandatory use of the ArriveCan app. While many Canadians are applauding the decision, especially those who live in border communities who lost so much revenue over the time of the pandemic, others are questioning the timing, especially with what could be a significant viral season just around the corner. So we took to the streets across the country to ask Canadians leading up to this decision what they thought about the federal government ending those COVID-19 rules. Our question: should COVID-19 restrictions be removed for people entering Canada?
That one's hard. As I want people to be as safe as possible when they come here. So I think having some restrictions, or at least maybe testing when you get here, still isn't the worst thing in the world. And if somebody tests positive, certainly we should have the resources there to be able to help them stay in a place before they're all clear. That's not going to be a cost to them. So
I think at this point they could probably be removed. It's been controlled enough that they could probably start letting people do more and more than restrict it like they have been.
Right. I think we're in a place where we're ready to be a little bit more open.
I don't think it should be removed as of yet because we're still in the pandemic. So anybody entering should have their vaccines, and anybody that goes out of Canada should also be checked on their way in. So no, the pandemic is not over as far as I'm concerned.
I usually defer to the health authorities. I just think it's so fluid. So just kind of finding out where we're at as a country or even as a province, and then implementing measures according to that. I think that's probably the best solution.
I think right where we are in the pandemic right now, where there's no extremely severe variant like there was in the beginning, and it's in Canada, it's in New Brunswick, it's all over the country, it's in the States, so I don't really see why we're not trying to keep it out anymore. So yeah, I think the strict restrictions don't need to be in place right now.
I don't find it needs to be as strict as it used to be. I feel like as long as everybody keeps getting their boosters and is smart about what they're doing, I feel like it's fine. Again, like if you are traveling and you do think you have COVID and if you are sick in that way, like maybe you don't need to go right then and there. But like if it is something that has to happen, just like taking your like safety measures, yeah.
I think I would have said yes a few months ago, but now it seems that it's returning. And so I would say I'm leaning towards keeping the restrictions or adding the restrictions.
I don't think they should be removed for anyone. I think we need more. I have them. We're outside now, but we were just inside. I have an N95. I think everybody should be, masking. I was in favor of vaccine passports. So I don't see it as a big deal, to protect yourself and everyone else. So it's not terribly inconvenient. It's easy to do.
No, because it's not completely gone, and I think we have to understand that, and we have to be very precautious with the standards that are here, and we have to really recognize that we should keep it that way until it's completely gone, and I think it's important to stay cautious of it.
To be honest, I'll follow the cue of the public health experts when they feel it's time, when they feel their numbers are sufficiently low enough, when they have the data, they're observing what's going on in other countries, and when in their analysis they feel it's safe to do so, I think that's the time that I will go along with that. But while the measures are in place, I'm all for them.
Why can we go to the SaskTel Center to a concert and we can't get on an airplane? I mean, to me, I can't see that that's science. That's just So right now, yes, I think the prohibitions are not necessary, and everybody's got to use a little common sense. I mean, you shouldn't send a sick child to school anytime, let alone when it might be COVID. But yeah, I think we should. I don't see the science behind it now.
Well, it happened to me several times because we are snowbirds. So we always come back after 182 days.
Yeah, we go to the States.
Yeah, we go to Florida. So we were tested when we come back, and they're very careful. And I understand that, and I appreciate the fact that whoever comes in has to be tested.
Me too. I agree with that.
I'm okay with it. I purposely haven't traveled out of the country for this reason. I want to wait for everything to settle, but I have had friends and family that have, and they haven't had issues with it.
But we still live in a pandemic. There is still COVID-19 around. Infections are still going up. So if we follow the guidance of what our allies are doing, what the WHO is suggesting, and what our doctors are saying we should do, that will greatly benefit, rather than populist discussion about, how we feel is at the border, how we get angry about what's going on at the border. We should have a fact-based discussion of how COVID is affecting our lives.
In an age when many of us do our banking, shopping, or even socializing online, the threat of our personal information falling into nefarious hands while we go about our everyday business can be a concern to everyone. Theft or manipulation of private information, which includes health or financial records, or computer viruses that can damage data or destroy hardware, continue to be a threat. And once that damage is done, it can be hard to reverse it. So we took to the streets across the country to ask people if they feel their private information online is safe and secure. Our question: do you feel secure about your digital privacy?
That is a big question. Again, I've read many stories that, again, enact as sort of scare tactics. This is a worst case scenario that could happen. But again, I have lived 29 years on this earth, and I personally haven't faced any sort of scenario that would suggest that I am not secure with my online presence.
We do everything online. I feel pretty secure.
We're pretty high tech, so we're definitely secure.
Like, we've got some firewalls, but we do everything online.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I keep a low profile for the most part, so I'm not too worried. And if somebody wants to hack into something, have at it, share it everywhere.
I feel secure. I don't feel nervous, but like I said, if you're talking, I don't have Google or any of those apps that listen, I guess, because even my parents have it, and they've talked about stuff, and stuff they've talked about shows up on their feeds.
We saw not too long ago Cambridge Analytica. We're still seeing the repercussions from that and how that affected the 2016 election and just our general trust in corporations. So I worry to an extent in regards to, the stuff I tweet, the links I share. But I think that what we should be focusing on is not necessarily the privacy itself, but just the influence and the power that these have.
I think they're going to have to accept a certain level of risk and know that individuals who they may not want to have their information may at some point get it. Like, there's, I think that's a trade-off that we accept when we use the internet.
No, I don't think I ever have, to be honest with you.
I think digital privacy is kind of an illusion because it's somewhere and it's not something that's like super protective, even if you have like a VPN or something.
Yeah, once stuff's out there, it's not coming back. So
Probably not, but it's almost because I don't know enough about it. And given this day and age, I probably should have educated myself a bit more. But you read a lot of stuff, and you hear nightmare stories of people having their privacy taken away from them, their identities and whatnot. So I don't always feel that particularly safe. But that being said, most of the stuff I do is still online, so I probably should look at ways to protect myself better.
Yeah, because I think, definitely personal information will be like the new currency, and people are really going to start selling that, and that has like effects that people like me haven't thought of yet, but we should start thinking about it.
Well, I'm pretty naive and stuff like that, but I have a son who's been telling me to be more conscious and making sure everything's secure. So I guess I'm concerned now, yeah. But again, I don't know what you can really do about it.
I'm not sure what all they can get from Facebook, but if they hacked my phone, that's banking and everything. So it has me worried a little bit more lately.
I feel pretty secure about it. I've been hacked once on my Apple account. That's probably because one of my kids let it go to someone else. Other than that, I feel pretty good, like with the banking and doing orders online and all that kind of stuff. I've never had a problem. So I feel pretty good about it.
Oh, I have a really hard time actually thinking about it, because if I do, then I get really scared. Because I don't know enough about technology, and I don't know enough about safety other than, probably should have a VPN. So yeah, not super comfortable when I start thinking about it. But mostly I'm like, well, I don't really have anything to hide either.
No, 100% not, because I'll be having a conversation with my husband and we'll talk about something, just something really random. And then I open my social media and it's one of the ads that pops up. So I am 100% sure that our digital privacy is being infringed. It's kind of scary.
I do think that you should take precautions around your own privacy related to your phone and password protection, and don't ignore things around the abuse of email scams and scandals and things like that, because it paralyzes organizations. So on one hand, I say that, and we're pretty well protected. If you look closely, you look at the IT world, they're paying really close attention to it, and they are helping. I would say don't ignore that.
I mean, it is what it is. We can't do anything about it. That's the world we live in. But I'm definitely against selling people's information. It's kind of like overexploitation, I believe.
Which federal Canadian political party with seats in the House of Commons was the first to have a woman as leader? NDP, Progressive Conservative Party of Canada, or the Green Party of Canada? NDP, Progressive Conservatives, or Green Party?
I actually have no clue. I would say A. So NVP?
Was it the Green Party?
Say Progressive Conservative Party of Canada.
PC?
Conservative.
Conservative.
Green Party of Canada.
I'm going to say NDP.
I'm also going to say NDP.
You know what? You're both right.
Oh, okay.
High five. You can do it. Good job.
Thank you.
In 1989, the federal NDP became the first party with seats in the House of Commons to elect a woman as leader. When Ed Broadbent stepped down in 1989 after 14 years as leader of the federal New Democratic Party, his successor was Yukon MP Audrey McLaughlin. McLaughlin was a social worker by trade, entering politics in 1987. She is also the first federal party leader to represent an electoral district in a Canadian territory. McLaughlin, however, would not find the success as leader she had hoped for. In the 1993 federal election, McLaughlin's New Democratic Party would suffer a staggering decline, dropping from 44 seats in the House of Commons to 9 seats. Audrey McLaughlin would remain NDP leader until she was succeeded by Alexa McDonough in 1995. We've all seen firsthand the effects inflation has had on virtually everything we buy. It's also hard to ignore those high prices at the gas pumps. In 2016, the average price of gas in this country was 90.3 cents per liter. In late September 2022, the average price of gas in this country was $1.54.9 per liter. While we did see a modest drop in gas prices over the summer, people still continue to dig deeper in their pockets when filling up at the pumps. So we took this question to Canadians. How are you coping with high gas prices?
Well, I'm fortunate that I can afford to pay the high gas prices. But yeah, I think you pre-plan your trips better, around town and stuff like that. And definitely look for the bargains.
Trying to drive less, which is I was trying to do anyway. But yeah, that's about it. Walk, public transit. Walking and running is great anyway.
My husband and I share a vehicle, and so we just try to kind of plan our trips throughout the day to make sure that we're driving as little as possible. And we're really enjoying walks.
Like gas prices and plane tickets are getting more expensive, so traveling out of province, let alone out of country, is very expensive nowadays.
So my husband and I actually live out of town. We live in Langham, and we've been commuting in together. We're lucky enough that we both make enough money to be able to feel comfortable during this time, but I can't imagine people who don't make a good job, like don't have a good salary. I don't know how they're coping, especially in a city like Saskatoon where you need a car to get around. It just seems like the gas prices are getting too high for people who rely on a vehicle to get to where they need to go, but maybe don't make enough money to be able to afford that.
Not easily. We have 2 teenagers in the house, so we're running 3 vehicles right now. So it's not a fun place to be right now, with our wages staying as they are. It's tough. It's definitely tough. But we have no choice, right? So for me personally, I bike to work just to try to combat the expense over it. But my kids still got to drive around, and my husband is a teacher on the other side of the city, so we're kind of caught. It's tough. It's sad when you hear about all of the companies that are making oil and gas or making all of this profit, and they're not easing it up on us, and our wages aren't going up. So that's a really hard pill to swallow.
Well, I mean, I'm retired and on a fixed income, but I'm fortunate. I'm okay. And it's very volatile. I bought gas just by bad luck about 4 weeks ago, and it was $2.08. I think that was pretty close to the tops, and now it's $1.49 or something, and it's down 50 or 60 cents. So that's good for people who are struggling more than I am. But it's I think some of our energy policies in this country have been misguided, very misguided, if I can be a little bit more assertive about that. And I don't think that's helped.
I am not. It's not working out. I see they're lowering now, which is good, but I go to school and drive back every weekend, so that's going to be tough for me if the gas prices don't lower.
We're buying less things and we're traveling less. There's only so much money in the daily budget. So higher interest rates and higher gas prices mean we are simply spending less.
I hate it. I find that it's too expensive. People cannot, we are the lucky ones. Some people cannot even pay their rent. They cannot pay for gas when it's almost $2 per liter. Something should be done about it. And I think our government in Ottawa should be the first ones to reduce at least taxes.
Try not to drive as much, I guess, would be the first one. I live in a city it's pretty accessible in terms of walking and whatnot, so try not to drive as much. That's not always possible, but high gas prices are tough on a lot of people. So yeah, I guess just trying to bike more and walk when it's possible.
Well, I was fortunate this year to work like 5 minutes away from my house. I had a job I was really happy with. I was really close. So I was really lucky in that sense. But for a few months before that, I was working like maybe a 30-minute drive away. So I would definitely carpool with people a lot more. And I guess I'm thinking twice before taking like a longer drive, I think. Like I know back in 2020 or 2021, I would maybe go on like a road trip somewhere or travel somewhere more on a whim. Whereas now I really think twice about it. And if I'm ever going even like a 20, 15-minute drive, I always just make sure I have everything on my list that I need to get done. So I don't have to like go back or do something again later. I try to be as efficient as I can with where I go.
Well, we travel less, that's for sure. Oh yeah.
Yes, it's
yeah.
quite expensive.
That's about all you can do is just try and restrict what you're doing.
Yes.
Restrict your movements, cuts down on, your travel and everything else. So that's about the only thing you can do. I mean, you got to do the necessary stuff. back and forth to work are necessities, but everything else is kind of as needed.
I think we just try to make sure that our routes, we're making it make sense instead of zipping all over the place. But you have to go, you have to work, so you just deal with it.
I bought a motorcycle. It's cheaper. Yeah, I've got 3 different vehicles, and one of them's a 3/4 ton pickup truck, and I can't even drive it.
Canadians pay their fair share of taxes, and that's been on the minds of many, especially over the last couple of years. And during the pandemic, the federal government provided financial aid to people and businesses to keep things going during the lockdowns. But of course, there are other areas besides COVID-19 where our money could be spent. And we took our cameras out to ask Canadians exactly where that could be. Our question:
in what areas should the federal government increase spending?
Long-term care for our seniors. I've got a dad that's 95 years old and he's in long-term and it's a disaster.
Yeah, healthcare and long-term care, given the situation for the nurses, for elderly people, and you're seeing conditions are not being met or they're not up to standard. I think they need to step in and keep it to a standard.
Defense, period. Healthcare, somewhat, yes, of course, but I think defense is our number one issue that we've been sorely lacking in.
Clean water on reserves, easy access to healthcare, all this stuff that's typically first to go when we're talking about balancing a budget is the stuff that needs to be a priority.
I think getting would be nice if they built the pipeline and getting people back to work, and because there are jobs out there, but there's other ways that the government could, create more jobs, especially out our way in Saskatchewan.
I can say this health area is very critical point. I heard on the radio with provincial government, they are always asking for money to improve health system. I think that's a good area. And education also. Education to support youth in their education, because the youth are our future. For example, we Francophone, we are in minority situation here. So we need money to improve our education system. So federal government and provincial government, they need to support us, all this Francophone and Anglophone, all population to have a good system, education system for all population, minority and majority. So for me, that both area is very critical for our future.
My issue right now, and it may not be answering your question, but it's my answer. My issue right now is with the provincial governments, what the provincial governments are doing with spending on healthcare, right? Province after province, we're seeing, the medical system is in crisis. More spending needs to go into that area. In some provinces, the federal funding has been released, but the governments, the provincial governments, are not spending it. So that's where I think is the issue. And their moves towards privatization, I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that is the direction we should be going. I don't think the data supports that is what is best for the public, maybe best for for-profit corporations, but it's not what is best for the public. So I would like to see provincial governments, in some cases, use the funds that the federal government has already released to them to support our struggling medical system.
Nowhere. I think that Trudeau is out of control fiscally. I think that they just throw money at everything. So I don't know. I can't even imagine where they could spend more money.
I think that healthcare is in a crisis point. So we do certainly need to find ways to improve working conditions for healthcare workers who have left the industry. Certainly spending to create those working conditions and listening to healthcare workers is necessary. The provinces do need additional resources to make that happen. So I think healthcare is the number one place where we do need to increase spending.
And help also the elderly. I found during COVID, a lot of elderly people had a hard time with that. I mean, they live in nursing homes. It wasn't up to par. A lot of places in Canada. So I think this would be also the healthcare.
I think like resources for like the homeless population in Fredericton definitely need attention. Like whenever they kind of settle down and get like this place for themselves, like they just come in and tear it down and then they're all uprooted. And then people get upset that they're kind of milling about downtown and causing trouble. And some of them do, but most people are just like falling on hard times, especially with the pandemic. And it's not something that they're like willing to address. So definitely there.
Healthcare, infrastructure, and community development for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
I don't see a plan from the federal government on how to develop the economy. There are a lot of disruptor technologies coming along that are going to change the way the Canadian economy can operate and produce goods. We need to be on top of that, so we need to spend money on economic development, not necessarily the old industries and sunset industries that we've had. We need to move on and deal with all the disruptor technologies that are on the verge of being developed. That's where we need to spend money. That's what keeps the economy moving, and that's what finances the social programs.
I think with like climate change and kind of fighting against climate change, there's not enough like serious action happening there. And I think that either we should spend more or spend our money in like smarter ways with like harsher sanctions and restrictions.
You know, I think immigration's a good one to try to get more people here to Canada. I know they do a lot in that already. I want to say healthcare because it's certainly a big issue across the country, but they shouldn't allow it with no strings attached to the provinces. I know here in New Brunswick, our premier took that money, put it into general revenues to prop up his surplus. That's not what that money is intended for. It was intended to help the people of New Brunswick. So I think definitely healthcare is one of them, but the feds can't write blank checks to them because the province, at least here in New Brunswick, can't be trusted with how they're using it.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.